Hi, everyone. Welcome to the PoliticAL update with me, Alexandra Acker-Lyons. It is Friday, October 3rd. I pay attention to the political news so you don't have to. This is the advice I give to millionaires, and you get it for free. Announcements this week. I am quoted in a new Fast Company story about the wonderful organization Run for Something. I did this interview when I was on vacation in Mexico and like sitting in a cafe and didn't exactly remember what I told the reporter, but was thrilled to be able to promote Run for Something and kind of talk about the toxic culture we have in progressive politics and how we fund nonprofit organizations and how different it is than both private industry and the right. Buy a banana. So give that a read. It is in both the print and digital editions. Okay, candidate news. Big news this week is Congressman Dave Schweikert has entered the Arizona governor's race. This has impacts on two races, actually. So first, it really shakes up the Republican primary, where two Trump-endorsed candidates are running. One woman who is like partially a self-funder and kind of a long time under the radar political figure, and then Congressman Andy Biggs, who is an extreme MAGA Freedom Caucus guy. Schweikert represents a very swing district, and so that already very competitive congressional district now becomes even more competitive with an open seat. There were already several Democrats running, and I expect to see several Republicans jump in the next few days. It remains to be seen if a guy who has I hate to even call it moderate, but it's like slightly more moderate than the other two crazy people running reputation can get through a Republican primary in a state that has nominated Carrie Lake twice. But we don't want to run against him in the general election, that's for sure. So I'm inclined to think a three-way race might help Andy Biggs, which is probably the best candidate for Katie Hobbs to run against. But oh my God, a scary person for the general election. So that's Arizona. We got another candidate in the Georgia Democratic primary for governor, Ruah Roman, who is a state legislator, the first Palestinian elected in Georgia. She is running as a very progressive candidate. So still seeing more people jump into a bunch of these races. That is one of the gubernatorial races where I feel like I have the least indication of who might win. I think Keisha Lance Bottoms certainly has the highest name ID, but she also has some pretty high negatives. So just waiting to see what happens in Georgia. And then I'm going to start talking more about congressional races as they kind of figure themselves out. But in Minnesota 2, which is the seat currently held by Angie Craig, who's running for the Senate, Kayla Berg, who is a longtime flight attendant and flight attendant union activist and leader, has jumped into that race and has immediately gotten quite a few major endorsements. So that is exciting to see. Other political news. Obviously, we are in a government shutdown. It is kind of unlike any other government shutdown that I've witnessed, wherein like both sides were kind of like, all right, I guess we're gonna have a shutdown now. Democrats are holding the line, which I'm proud of, but we need better messaging because leader Jeffries just saying it's 6 words, save healthcare, stop the cuts, is not going to cut it. Senator Chris Murphy has had some good lines around only fund a government that obeys the law. It seems like a pretty basic idea. So I'm not really sure how we're going to get out of this. We had a couple of Democrats already vote for the Republican bill. They had a lot of different reasons for doing so. I think while the polling is showing that that Republicans rather are being blamed more for the shutdown, that kind of emboldens Democrats to hold the line. And while as someone who is on the healthcare exchange and would see my premiums skyrocket. I obviously want that to be part of the conversation, but I just don't think it's sufficient to have that be the whole conversation. I think we have to be talking about the lawlessness, the fact that Trump believes that he can just ignore whatever budget Congress passes, need to be part of that conversation as well. So we'll see how this goes. Other political news: Missouri passed their new gerrymandered maps that would eliminate one Democratic seat. Missouri, though, is one of the states where we can actually fight back. There is going to be a citizen-led initiative to fight these maps, and Missouri has a long history of passing progressive ballot measures, even if they have now kind of eliminated all statewide Democrats. So stay tuned for that. And in 2028 news, Mayor Pete has been Secretary Mayor Pete, we still call him Mayor Pete in this house, has been making the rounds on a lot of podcasts. And, he's just such a strong communicator. He is really able to distill language and very complicated issues into words that regular people can understand. I think he's had a good answer when I kind of asked about, should Joe Biden have run again, et cetera, et cetera. So just never a dull moment. And finally, my shout out of the week goes to Emily's List. They announced this morning that they are endorsing Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton in Illinois. This is a very competitive Democratic primary for the open seat being vacated by Dick Durbin. There are two women running there, and Congresswoman Robin Kelly is also terrific. And they are both Black women, and there is a very well-funded congressman running there. And in this environment where we just have more and more races where multiple qualified women are running, sometimes if you want to make sure a woman gets through, sometimes you have to put your thumb on the scale. And Stratton is much further ahead than Kelly in both polling and fundraising. And I'm sure it was a very hard decision, but it is the right decision. And as we've seen time and time again, we don't need a candidate to match another one dollar for dollar. We just need them to have enough money to communicate. And we saw this with Angela Alsobrooks in her primary last cycle. So thank you, Emily's List, for helping to ensure that a wonderful, qualified woman can have a fighting chance in this primary. All right. Thanks, everyone. And talk to you next week.